Hey, my name's Andrew Hulshult. I write music for video games and do some of their sound design, and I'm kind of a voice actor sometimes. Hello, everybody. I'm also a huge Half-Life fan.
This is my buddy Andrew. Andrew, why don't you give to the people listening some game, like your gameography? What would you call that? Your past work. Give some examples.
I worked on the Rise of the Triad remake, did that soundtrack. I did a bunch of the voiceovers for that. Um, that was in 2013. I worked on Bombshell. I did the 3D Realms anthology. Most recently, I did the soundtrack for Dusk, as well as like half the sound design. A Medieval, as well as half the sound design on that as well. Quake Champions. And right now I'm working on Proteus and Nightmare Reaper.
Those are a lot of games.
Yeah, and there's plenty more to come.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. So, in case you guys don't know, there's a recent game reveal. There's a game that just came out that actually shows off some of your music. Is that true?
Oh yeah, it's Doom Eternal.
So Doom Eternal has an unlockable song that you can listen to in the Fortress of Doom that you wrote. That's fucking awesome.
Yeah, I know. Like I was super. Oh my gosh, I had grown man tears whenever I found out. I was like, oh my gosh, that's amazing.
I saw your name pop up in the LGR review, and I was like, fuck yeah, fuck yeah.
Clint's a good guy. We talk every now and then.
Yeah, I mean, first time I talked with you, what should have been like 2017, 2018. It was a while ago. Mm-hmm. And you turned me on to Dusk and that whole scene of like you pretty much informed me of the 90s FPS revival, which was, I'm so glad we're living in this age right now of everybody kind of just going, I miss maze-like level design and keycard hunting.
Yeah, like why not? Like linear is cool, linear is fun. Don't get me wrong, like if it's done right, but I like a little bit of puzzles thrown and stuff. I dug on Portal. I dug on just like anything that had to do with a cool puzzle as well as your shooty looty stuff. Cool.
So you said you're also working on Nightmare Reaper and Proteus, both of which are in some form of early access. You can get a Proteus demo. You did the music for the Kickstarter alpha thing, right?
Yeah, like anything that's in there, actually, all the music that's currently in the game, I believe that's in the demo, I think, is all mine, and we're still working on plenty more than that.
Oh, of course. And I've enjoyed Nightmare Reaper quite a bit. That one's very different. It's kind of taking the 90s FPS in a completely different direction. I like the would you call it a roguelike shooter?
I don't know if I'd go with that. I look at it kind of more as like a looter shooter more than anything else, but with the heart of like old school FPS and like the art direction and the ridiculousness of don't take anything seriously, essentially.
Oh yeah. Have you had a chance of finishing up Eternal yet?
I am in where am I at? I just finished the arc. Or no, I'm past the arc. I think I've got 4 more maps to go through.
Okay.
4 more, which, oh my gosh, those maps are huge.
Yeah, it's a long ass game. What difficulty are you playing on?
I started with ultraviolence because the developers told me, hey, ultraviolence is a proper ultraviolence. Like it's going to be a challenge. So I was like, okay, I'll start there, and then I'll probably go back and run through Nightmare after that.
Sure. I did Hurt Me Plenty, and now I'm doing my ultraviolence run. Yeah,
ultraviolence is rough.
It's hard. It is a hard game.
Man, it's fun though. I love that new Doom dance that they put in there. That's cool.
Just, it's making me better at first-person shooters. It's training me.
Yeah, that's like the whole idea with it. Hugo mentioned that a ton, like whenever he was doing the press tours for that, and I gotta say I totally agree with it. I'm like, it's forcing you.
I forget who told me, but new id is the new old Valve. Do you know what I mean by that?
Yeah. Where they kind of take ideas and then kind of turn them on their head and go, here, try this. This is pretty interesting. But I'd argue that maybe old Valve is new Valve. If that sounds ridiculous.
Sure.
We'll see with Alex.
We will see.
What I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you have a VR headset available to you. We're going to ask legitimate questions to your work and stuff. We're just kind of, starting off a bit here. But you do have a VR headset available. You will be able to play HLA tomorrow.
I wish.
What?
I have, yeah, no, a buddy of mine's got one, and I'm looking at ordering an Index in the next like month or so.
Oh shit.
Yeah, like no, I'm really interested in getting my hands on this, but I was like, oh my gosh, it's so close to Eternal, and Doom's like super close to my heart. I was like, I gotta pick my children.
Sure.
But I am gonna grab it, and I'm gonna grab a headset and actually to dive in, because it looks amazing. Boneworks was enough to get me sold on that. I can't wait to try this.
Boneworks, well, that's a whole other conversation. Boneworks is one of my favorite games of last year.
Yeah.
So yeah, and the developers are fucking awesome. So cycling back to you, Andrew, as a human being and a musician and artist.
Who said I'm a human?
Oh shit! I'm sorry I made that assumption. Are you mortally challenged?
Yeah, that's good. There you go.
So was the Rise of the Triad remake your first professional endeavor in composition?
Yeah, and it was really weird too. Whenever, like, I just got kind of thrown into it. We were working on a team, me and what turned to be Interceptor Entertainment way back when, until I think they went under, or they changed their name or something.
They changed their name. Yeah.
Yeah. What we did was we were taking Duke Nukem 3D and basically just kind of trying to rebuild it in Unreal Engine 3. And, we were just having fun. It was just modding at the time. And I saw it on, I think it was IGN, or maybe it was RPS way back in the day. And I got on the Gearbox forums where they were posting about this and said, hey, it was like, you mind if I try and, make some music for you? Like, I was in a band at the time, and we played a bunch. And I was looking for like just a different outlet. That's all. And Fred, the guy that was kind of spearheading the entire thing, said, yeah, sure, no problem. And I went ahead and started making demos. I remade Stalker. I remade the theme. Couple other tracks, I think Mean Streets, and they were all implemented into the game. But I use the term game loosely because it wasn't really ever truly put together. It was kind of just kind of an experiment. But after Gearbox shut that down, they said, we'll revisit this later, and they basically put a stop sign in front of us. Apogee Software contacted Fred and said, we want to remake Rise of the Triad, and we think you guys would be great for it, because we got a lot of PR off of that. So Fred signed an agreement, got me on board, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is professional work. What have I gotten myself into? Okay, here we go. And I just started throwing ideas at the wall, and they all stuck, and a lot of people seem to like them. You can't please everybody, but
sure.
As a whole, that entire soundtrack came together super, super well. A lot of alcohol behind it.
As most
drinking.
Yeah, as most creative endeavors are, it seems. So from Rise of the Triad, so the Duke Nukem Unreal Engine 3 remake, which was C&D'd by Gearbox, that led to Rot. So you think that if the Duke 3D wasn't C&D'd, you wouldn't have gotten Rot 2013?
Yeah, I absolutely think that for sure. I think that we would have kind of just made Duke 3D Reloaded, and then I don't know if it would have even gotten finished. Probably not. Looking back on it.
Yeah.
But I don't think it would have gone very far. So I'm actually super glad that Gearbox stepped in and went, piss off, Yeah.
Randy Pitchford's BS gave you your career in a way. That's amazing. Yeah.
Oh, Randy.
Yeah, well, that still makes me mad, and I'd love to talk about Civi for the next 20 minutes, but we're gonna move on. So anyways, so from Rot, where does that take you? How long does it take from 2013 Rot to your next big release?
Almost immediately.
Okay.
So after Rot finished, they went and Interceptor went and got a studio in Denmark, and they started hiring people, and it was a nice little studio. Might have been a little too expensive for the time, but they had money coming in after that, so it was, hey, sure, why not? I think anybody would do that. But we started working on what was going to be Duke 3D Mass Destruction, which was a game that got canceled over a pretty crazy lawsuit between 3D Realms and Gearbox Software.
Yeah.
I could go on about that, but like honestly, I don't even have all the details. I have a lot of them, but I don't have everything.
Well, you know who you're talking to. I'd love details on Mass Destruction.
Well, like honestly, everything that you see in the game in Bombshell, like those first like couple levels, it's pretty much the exact same thing. Like it was just a Duke player model, and there was a couple different things that we were going to handle differently with how Duke interacted with the environment, but not a lot changed outside of that. In fact, in that lawsuit, I think you can see the top-down screenshot from whenever you get to the Rose Garden and what is supposed to be General Graves tells you that you need to head into the White House. It's the same thing. It's just a swapped player model. That's all.
Okay.
So it was same game. It's not like any huge cut content that I'm aware of. But yeah, that lawsuit got dragged through the mud for quite some time. But that was the next title that I worked on, and the game shipped, and there was a lot of pain through the development cycle, and we all got kind of pulled apart quite a bit from each other and from ourselves. And that was a lesson learned after that, for sure.
What do you mean by being pulled apart in both ways? What exactly does that mean, you've been pulled apart from ourselves?
Like some leads were trying to like grab a little bit more. Like there was always something new that we needed to do. I wouldn't say it was feature creep,
sure,
per se, but there was always another direction that we wanted to look at, and we wanted to try something else, and that became a lot of the reason. Excuse me, I'm moving in my chair.
That's fine.
A lot of the reasons for that team kind of disbanding at one point. Further on, but so, out of that, with creative people that don't quite get along after a certain period, you normally get cool stuff. Like you got a medieval out of them. So, it's a give and take.
Sure.
But yeah, that was Bombshell. That was the next thing we worked on after that, and definitely I wouldn't have it any other way. Learned my lessons from that. I think we all did. And after that, we went and worked on Rad Rogers. That was pretty fun. And we shipped that. It did all right. Had a successful Kickstarter with it. It was pretty good. And then from there out, it was, I think everybody kind of looked and went, okay, what can we learn from the past and how can we use it towards the future? And then you had 3D Realms and Slipgate Ironworks, which is the Interceptor Entertainment, basically, worked on Ion Fury with Void Point, which Void Point was the developers. I think 3D Realms came to them with the idea, with the IP, with Bombshell, which I thought that's really smart. It was really brilliant to do it in the build engine. And then I think we were all like moving towards the exact same thing, which is weird. And then me, David, and Dave all had an idea for DUSK, and Leon and Simon and me we had the ideas for a medieval, which a medieval can be argued as kind of the modern one of the group, even though the graphics are a little chunky. It's still very much in the vein of old school FPS, and definitely that's where the core of it is.
Like a Hexen or Heretic, yeah.
Right. And like nobody was filling that void for fantasy shooters. Yeah. So it just looked like an easy opening there, and definitely the design was really good. So but that's where I'm at with that. That's how we came to be, kind of.
A lot of people, a lot of names being thrown out.
Oh yeah, sorry.
No, it's no problem. It's no problem. I'm editing around this anyways. So Rad Rogers, because we just went through like 4 games there. But Rad Rogers, personally, I enjoyed quite a bit. I feel like nice. Yeah, I mean, I was a fan of the old DOS platformers, and I feel like that was a really good one. But then, DUSK and a medieval are the big behemoths. So if you could, you said that you and Dave the idea for Dusk came from Dave. Did Dave work with Interceptor at any point, or is he a completely separate third entity that just kind of came in?
Dave has actually been there since day one. Dave was there from the Rise of the Triad days.
Oh, okay, all right.
Dave invested his own money into Rise of the Triad.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, so he was a lead investor back then, and he was a good portion of the reason why you got a Rot reboot, even if it wasn't that well optimized.
It's still a fun game, but yeah, I have a 2080 Super and it still doesn't run that well.
Yeah, it sounds about right.
And then
if Fred
Leon
was here right now, he'd go, sorry.
And then Leon's also from those days. They just kind of split off, and okay.
Yeah, Leon and Simon both are. They're
Okay.
like best friends that have worked with each other forever. But Dave was the lead investor from Rot, and fast forward to Dusk, it was he was the executive producer over Dusk. David had already started Dusk.
Mm-hmm.
He had the ideas for it. Dave saw its potential, and Dave got a hold of me, and we all started just kind of throwing more ideas at the wall.
You're
And
talking
it
about Orshri? I still don't know how to pronounce it.
Oshtree.
Oshtree, thank you.
Yeah. No, it's okay.
Yeah, it's amazing how all of this like really awesome creative stuff came together so quickly.
Oshtree's a cool dude too, man.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
I mean, like like anybody, we'll go back and forth, and every now and then we'll have like disagreements on stuff creatively, but we always just kind of know at the end of the day, like, this is just work. It's all good. And like, he's one of those guys that you can just kind of you can really get inside his head, and he can really get inside of your head, and you can flip things around, and it's interesting what shows up whenever you're working with him. Stuff that I never would have thought of that he threw out as ideas. I was like, oh, okay, cool, right on. And then he'll just let you ride the creative wave all you want. Won't get in the way. Fun dude.
Yeah, I hope to interview him some point in the future. So how does Quake Champions happen through all of this?
Oh my God. That's a great question.
Yeah.
So I was working on Dusk and a Medieval, and I think I had just signed a contract with Proteus. And like Proteus wasn't even, I don't think it was, it was public, but it was just like one of those Twitter dev games, where it's like, here, look at all our stuff, and you never see anything that's playable. That's what it had looked like up to that point. I reached out to them. They seemed interested, so we signed a deal. So at that point, I had 4 titles actually working. Another one that I can't talk about just yet.
Okay.
I had 4 titles working at that point, and Dusk was getting a lot of press, and a lot of people were basically comparing it to Quake, to Quake and to Blood, especially with some of the soundtrack elements, because I definitely harped a lot on some old Trent Reznor stuff quite a bit. It was a big inspiration for me, and I guess that community really was vocal about a lot of that. The creative director started checking out quite a bit of the demos and stuff that I put up on Instagram. His name's Adam Pyle. Super, super nice dude. Really sweetheart. And he got a hold of me and said, hey, he's like, would you be interested in maybe working on some music for id Software? And I was like, well, all I could think was like, oh, what a dumb question. Of course. But I was like, oh my gosh, like 16-year-old kid version of me is like, oh my Lord, what am I going to get into? And I was playing Quake Champions a lot because I actually really dug on the speed of it. Like, I like old school arena shooters like that. And he's like, hey, well, what about Quake Champs? Would you be interested in doing another soundtrack for Quake Champs? I'm like, yeah, you already have Chris Arenas. He's like, we'd put it as an option where you could select between yours or Chris's. And I was like, oh, that'd be really nice. That'd be neat. It's like, yeah, you just have to do something completely separate. He's got the really, really weird, abstract, moody, and like that kind of all that old Nine Inch Nails goodness. He's like, we want something a little bit different from you. He says, I like your direction that you take with your games, so just be you. That was literally his direction. He was like, I would like a couple instruments. These are the instruments that I'd like to hear in the mix. Other than that, just be you. And I was like, oh my gosh, like they're just giving me free reign. And so I'd just play through the maps. I'd look at the art that they'd send me. They'd send me some game design documents, and I went from there. And I think it came out pretty good. Like I had a lot of positive feedback from that. People still emailing me back and forth. Hey, when are we gonna get the soundtrack? When do we get the soundtrack? I'm like, Bethesda owns it. You know?
Yeah.
But that was crazy because I had so much work at that point, and whenever id Software comes knocking on your door, like I was so stressed the fuck out. I was like, even before id showed up, I was just. I'll beat the shit out of myself whenever it comes to soundtracks. I'm like, if this isn't good enough, I don't want to put it out. I'm sorry. Like, I'll straight up tell developers that I'm like, hey, you know, I'm not going to charge you for this, but I'm going to rework this like completely. They're like, you're insane.
Sure.
Like, hey, I just don't want anything bad coming out from me, something that I'm going to regret later on. So I'm like doing that between 4 projects, right? I'm beating the shit out of myself over the creative direction between 4 projects and 4 different soundtracks, as well as some of the sound design behind them. And then id shows up, and I was like, oh my god. But I actually nailed it all out within like 2.5, 3 months. And so I just got it all out, and at that it gave me like a light at the end of the tunnel with every project I was working on, where I was like, oh man, okay, so these games aren't going to be finished, but I get to ride that wave of look what I finished and look what's out in the public before the game's finished, and then I get to ride another one and another one. And I was like, oh my god, it's gonna be like 2.5 years of this, and that's what it's been. Since 2018, since July of 2018, I have just been riding that wave one after another, and it's been awesome.
Is there a problem creatively when you're riding the wave of work that you had completed what could be even like a year or 2 ago, if you feel like you've progressed as an artist since? Do you get what I mean?
Yeah, no, totally. I'm actually struggling with that right now. You feel like it's like, I've already explored this, what am I doing here? And that happens a lot recently with anything that's guitar related for me. I'm getting to that point where I'm like, you know, do I want to do another one of these like crazy metal soundtracks? And the answer is yes, but I have to find, you know, a new way of doing it. I have to find something interesting. And I'm trying my best to make each developer that asks that something, you know, and it's only going to get so unique because it's me. And, you know, it's my ideas, but the sounds and the instrumentation and the visions that come along with that, I try to change those up each time. I will tell you that the biggest breath of fresh air I think I've had working on a game recently was a Medieval. We agreed that there would be no guitar on that soundtrack at all, and it would be just synths, choir, strings, and whatever weird shit I could come up with. And it worked out so well because they just let me run through the map and check out what they'd built and give me a little bit of backstory from it, and I'd write something for them, and like 9 times out of 10 they'd take exactly what I wrote for them. And it wasn't like, we're in a hurry, we'll just take whatever you got, here's your check. It was like, whoa, this works, like right on. And there was a couple times where I'd have to go back and it's like, this isn't really working out so well, but man, like it was just so much fun to work on. It felt like between Quake, Dusk, and Proteus, actually 5 games at a time, another one I can't say. You know, that was the one that was like, now here's the curveball, enjoy the curveball. So whenever I finished work on those games, I'd get to go over to a Medieval and just completely cleanse my palate. But yeah, it gets crazy sometimes, and you've got to take breaks, and you got to get 8 hours of sleep. John Carmack taught me that on Twitter. Get 8 hours of sleep. You'll be a better person. Yeah.
So, I guess a extension of that question is, so personally for me, I can't even really go back 6-8 months to my own videos without cringing some of my organs away, right?
Yeah.
But you're working on a much larger delay of what you're currently creating versus what the public is hearing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, I mean, obviously, as a creative, as you progress, you're likely thinking to yourself, like, oh, wow, I've learned so much. This thing must be so much better than the thing from 2.5, 3 years ago. But it might be another 2.5, 3 years before anybody hears it, right?
Right. It could, yeah, like there could be a delay that long. Absolutely, actually. You're right.
So has there ever been like a misunderstanding? And you obviously don't name names, but like you're doing an interview with a developer and you're talking about what kind of sound, and it's like they're expecting, like IDKFA, but you might have a completely different idea based on a piece of work that you're NDA'd to not even be able to show. Is that ever get complicated when you're kind of doing project to project to project for a bunch of different companies and you're not really able to communicate based on the things that are hidden behind legal documents?
Yeah. Most of the time you can kind of work around that a little bit where at least my workaround. If I've been working on something and I feel like it can be improved based off of, maybe I got some headway somewhere else and my direction's changed over there and I want to apply it to someone else as well. Most of the time I will make a demo and then be like, what if we did this? And, we go from there. If they don't like the direction, no biggie. If they dig it, all I do is it's a matter of plug and play with some mix tools normally. Sometimes it's a nightmare.
Sure.
Sometimes it requires rebuilding an entire session.
Fun.
Yeah.
So, you have a lot of public work right now, and it is kind of that any retro, modern retro revival game is going to have your name connected to it in some way.
Yeah.
How many projects have you done work for that the public doesn't know about yet? Number of projects
that the public doesn't know about?
Yeah.
Let me think about this. 4 or 5.
Damn, dude.
They're not. Man, I can't even really get into it.
No, I know, but still, that's a lot of projects.
yeah, it is totally. There was a meme that Mick Gordon shot over mine and Sasha's way. Sasha being the Sonic Mayhem. we used to like add each other a bunch on Twitter before Mick freaking blew up, and it's like you can't really say anything on Twitter anymore. But he shared we had this page that we'd share back and forth that was called WWE Audio Memes, and one of them was it was like a match with The Rock and Steve Austin, and it shows The Rock and he's like laying down on the other side of the ring back against the turnbuckle, and he looks like, and it says my friend or me working 2 projects, and then it pans the camera over to Steve Austin, who's all bloody and smiling and looks like he's insane. He says, versus my friend who's working on 6 projects. And like, I've never related to something so hard in my life up until like the last year, especially now.
That's nuts. 4 or 5 projects we don't know about. Plus you have Wrath, which is in early access.
Yeah.
Proteus, which is a Kickstarter campaign, and Nightmare Reaper, which is early access.
Yeah, I'm kind of at capacity unless something crazy comes along.
Yeah, I think so.
Unless like somebody comes along, they're like, "Hey, look at all this money." I'd be like, "Okay,
yeah,
we'll make some room."
So, is like your work for like Wrath done, and we're just waiting for the game to be finished, or are you still like ongoing with even these projects that are in early access?
No, I normally stay toe to toe with developers. I feel like that's the most respectful way to handle soundtracks for not only for the developer because they get something a little closer to what they wanted, but also for the consumer because it's a little bit closer to the art direction and the final the final feel of everything. So I'll work back and forth with them, and like, hey, once the level's finished, I want to get some insight into it and get in your head about it, and then create something for it. I don't want to just hand you a soundtrack of like, here's 40 minutes of Andrew, and it's like plug and play, which that would feel lazy.
Okay, so let's just discuss generally what it's like for you to create a soundtrack from like game pitch to delivering the final product. I'm sure it's different for every project.
Yeah.
But so let's just so then let's say like, okay, so Wrath. How did Wrath come about? I guess use that as an anecdotal example.
Wrath came about whenever 3D Realms approached me because they had a shooter that was going to be done on the Quake engine that they wanted to have a soundtrack for, and I had just come off of Quake Champions, so why not? We already have a working relationship. So basically they got a hold of me, introduced me to Jeremiah, and we started talking back and forth from there in a Discord. Jeremiah is the lead for Wrath, so he looks over everything. He started handing me artwork and started kind of giving me some direction for what he wanted. He has a very direction that he likes to take on some of these. He's been a little bit looser as of recently, but like at the beginning, he was like, I really would like to do this. I would like to have this. And my job is to take his ideas and create something that works in the world that they have built. So they sent me artwork. They sent me videos of level design. I didn't get a build because they weren't cooking builds immediately from that just yet. So they would send me videos, they'd send me design documents, and then we talk it out. And basically what I would do is I would take all those things, open up Studio One, which is the DAW that I use to create all this stuff, start writing, whether it be evil, happy, sad, is that you can see in the level. If the walls are coated in blood, you don't want to make something happy unless, your character's a lunatic. So I started writing some stuff that's really somber and really sad and sorrowful because there's an overarching plot with this game that people will catch on to if they dive into it. So I'd write about 30 seconds to a minute worth of demo, and then I send it over to him. Jeremiah either says, cool, or he says, let's try this. Why don't you try that? And each time they get 2 revisions throughout each track. Like a developer can't just sit there and pin me to a wall and be like, cool, all right, we're going to redo this 1,000 times. Like, nah, that's not going to happen. But I will work with them until we get the idea right within reason. So we'll finish up a track from there. We'll put it in an engine. We'll see how it feels. If everybody likes it, including the publisher, then we move on. And it's just like that over and over and over and over again. And once we get to the very end, I'll normally go through quite a few times and kind of play through the game if I can, if I have access to it, and see how it feels overarching. Otherwise, I'd just have to trust the lead that he made the right calls with everything. Sometimes they'll give me design input too. Like a Medieval and Dusk did that too, where I was like, hey, that Star of Torment thing, that should pin people to walls like the crossbow in Half-Life 2. And they totally ran with it.
Hell yeah. So would you say it's more frequent for you to be given dev docs and concept art and things more so than builds?
Depends on how close I am with the developer. Like some of these people I'm just really good friends with. I'm incredibly thankful that we can just work together and we get paid for it. It's awesome. So they'll just like straight up give me like build access and back end, and if I really wanted to, I could just go in there and start deleting things and but they know I'm not gonna do that. So some of them, they'll absolutely give me build access and we'll start working on all kinds of crazy stuff. Some of them are a little bit more, hey, I don't know you that well, but I want to work with you, which is perfectly fine. That's a that's a business relationship, and those are the people that will hand me like art and video and stuff like that, and that's totally cool. I can work with that. But if I can get a hold of your level, because I love FPS, you might get something more interesting, you know? Yeah.
So, as I'm winding up here, I want to read through your Wikipedia page and ask you if this stuff is legit. Okay?
Oh, Lord. Okay.
All right. So, Andrew is an American video game music composer and sound designer. He is best known for his work with 3D Realms, as well as his scores for several first-person shooters such as Rot, Quack Champs, and Dusk. That's all sounds pretty accurate.
True.
I'd say. Okay. He is based in Dallas, Texas, where he has lived since childhood. True. Okay. He started in the industry composing for a Duke Nukem 3D remake that would eventually be canceled. I can say that is true. Interceptor Entertainment CEO Frederick Schreiber wanted a heavy metal soundtrack for the game and described Hulshult's demo as by far the best we had received.
True.
Cool. That relationship eventually led to Andrew scoring the 2013 remake of Rot.
Yeah.
Okay. After Interceptor merged with 3D Realms, he continued with the company on several 3D Realm releases, including Bombshell and Rad Rogers. You've confirmed this already.
Yeah, that's all confirmed.
You independently created remakes for classic video game tracks such as Quake 2 and Doom, which later was attached to the Brutal Doom mod.
Yeah. That was for fun, and that just spiraled out of control, and IDKFA is easily the biggest thing I've ever done. It's ridiculous. I'm like, how do I collect money for this, please?
I mean, I have no idea how you could. Is it even? Could you even legal? I mean, it's a remake.
No, like I'm fucking around, man. Like it's, I don't. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
No,
I'm sorry.
I don't care.
You should open a Patreon. You should have your own Patreon.
Just make Doom remakes the entire time. I'm sure Bethesda would have a good time with that.
No, you could. You could be like, okay, so today I'm gonna remake a Half-Life track, or I don't know. I don't know. All right. That mod won the IGN South by Southwest 2017 award for fan creation.
Yeah, that was Doom 64.
You accepted the award.
That was crazy. I had to go down to Austin and dress semi nice. Hugo Martin and Marty Stratton were there. It's really nice to see people from the community.
Oh, I want to meet Hugo.
Like show up like this and get stuff like this. So I love that. Cool. And I was like, man, they're super nice people, man. Marty and Hugo are just like the most honest people ever. I'm so glad that they're running that studio.
I want to meet them so bad.
Good dudes.
Continued association with Dave Oshry, who became CEO of New Blood. The company published Dusk and Amid Evil, both of which featured scores composed by Andrew. In July 2018, the new Quake Champs. November, the indie game Proteus was announced. In the March 29 Kickstarter, Andrew had been brought in for the soundtrack. Yeah, I mean, that sounds pretty accurate.
Somebody's doing their job over there.
So, yeah. I mean, did you write it?
No.
Did you write this? Because it's accurate.
Somebody hit me up, I think it was like a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, from Wikipedia, and they were like, hey, we're doing this thing. We need all this information. I was like, oh my God. Someone from Wikipedia just casually emailing me. Good Lord.
That's hilarious.
And it's still weird.
So, okay. So for those that want to learn more about you, where can we reach you?
You can go to Hulshult.com. You can go to my YouTube page. It's just Andrew Hulshult. And at Andrew Hulshult on Twitter. That's probably how you'll get a hold of me the fastest.
Okay. And last question before we wrap. You've created right now. What would you say is your most proudest achievement throughout your career thus far?
That's a good question. I think being able to work on music as an independent contractor instead of being in a studio and being able to make a living off of it. Like I had no idea until basically after Rad that there was that much demand for my music, and there still is. It's kind of nuts. It blows my mind every day. I'm like, oh my gosh, how is this a thing? That's the biggest one, is being able to stand on my own 2 feet without a studio behind me, and having the studios that I did work with support me doing that, and be cool with it, and still be friends, and still be on a good even keel. So keeping everybody balanced is a big thing there. But yeah, like just, you know, being a 1099 and being successful at it, that's my biggest achievement. I love it.
Hey, did you hear you don't have to pay until July?
Yeah, that doesn't matter for me. I'm late every year anyways. My CPA is always late. I'm like, gosh, can we just turn this in, please?
Okay. Well, it was really nice talking to you, Andrew. Good luck on everything. I'm really excited to hear about the 4 or 5 other projects that have yet to be publicly announced.
It'll be a trip. They're really cool.
None of those are canceled,
none of
right?
them are canceled.
Okay, cool. Dope.
Still in development.
Dope. All right. Well, I hope you get a hold of a VR headset.
Me too.
Very soon, because you're gonna get spoiled. You're gonna get spoiled.
I'm sure, but like, I'm not too worried about the story side of it. I'm worried about the mechanic side. That's really what I want. Yeah, I love
like
Half-Life.
Okay, then you don't want to be spoiled.
All right. Oh, really?
I was spoiled. Believe me. Yeah, you don't want to be spoiled. Buy a VR headset as soon as you possibly
how long
can.
until Fabio on Twitter takes Gordon and puts assless chaps on him?
Oh, I'm sure that'll happen today. Yeah, it's fun. Yeah. I'll look right now. Hold on. Okay, so on Amazon. Let me see. Samsung Odyssey Plus, you can get right now for $230.
Samsung Odyssey Plus.
Yeah, it is the best cheap.
Oh no,
VR
I'm gonna go
headset
all out,
to hold
man.
you over,
I'm gonna
so
get
you can-
I want the index. I want the index for that larger FOV.
I understand that, but you're not getting. You won't be able to get one for forever. I promise you.
It's okay. A buddy of mine that's about an hour away has one. I'll go check his out for some of the. Yeah, I've got a place I can go check it out at. That's for sure.
Well,
Jesus
it's an 18-hour
Christ,
game.
I'll play it for like an hour then.
Yeah. You're a beautiful person. All right. Well, good luck with your future endeavors. I hope everything continues going super well for you, and I hope you make some banging jams that I can. Oh, by the way, do I have permission to play your music, independent music,
Hell no,
on my
get
live
fucked.
streams?
I'm just kidding. Yeah,
okay,
it's
well,
fine.
I had to ask.
Anything except the Quake stuff, because I don't own that, obviously. But everything else, fair game.
All right. Well, fucking awesome. Take care, man.
Yeah, you too,
Good
and
talking to you.
keep it up with the leaky findies. Yeah, bro.
Oh, thank you. People want to kill me for it, but I'm glad you like it.
I love it. Every time I hear, every now
Awesome.
and then, internally, if I'm talking to a developer, and they're like, "Hey, what kind of ideas do you have?" And I'll go, "Speculation." I don't think this is gonna work.
Well, yeah, it's all fun and games until I leak one of your things, and then you'll be like, "Oh,
I'll
Tyler!"
just get on Twitter and type in all caps, "It's speculation." Yeah.
All right. Okay. Have fun,
GG,
man.
take
I'll
it
talk
easy.
to you later.